Good evening, race fans. Been a minute, hasn't it? I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome back to the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We're here from an all-new season, an all-new calendar, and an all-new campaign. Here tonight from Daytona to get Speed Weeks kicked off. It's the Budweiser Shootout to open up the 2009 season here tonight. Bit of an exhibition coming your way, and a little bit of exposition for all your free agency moves coming into this season. A lot of stories, a lot of action coming your way in just a couple of minutes, but all that said and done, we're going to take you to the racetrack for your starting lineup for the first event on the 2009 calendar as Marcos Ambrose making the move over to Hendrick Motorsports puts his 5 on pole to start here tonight, and to his outside, it's his teammate Jimmie Johnson in the 48 in second place to make it a Hendrick 1-2. Carl Edwards, third straight Chevrolet, still in the 19 car this year. He's going to be in the third position. And to his outside, new colors for Casey Kane in the 12 with Verizon sponsorship. He is in fourth. Fifth place, that is DJ Kennington in the 81, right behind his teammate. And sixth place goes to Greg Biffle in the 16. Scott Wimmer on the move. He's going to be driving in a second Morgan McClure entry this year in the 04 in seventh place. Clint Boyer, his teammate, side by side with him in eighth. Ninth goes to Jeff Gordon, your 2008 Cup Series champion. And in 10th place is Matt Kenseth in the 17 car, who, if I'm not mistaken, yes he did, won this race last year in 2008. 11th place, new colors for Shane Meal in the 47 team, and his new teammate, Robbie Gordon, starts to his outside in the 13. 13th spot is Kevin Harvick in the 20, and Juan Pablo Montoya on the move to Childress. He's in 14th. Tony Stewart, still with Ganassi, but that's a new face on Ganassi with the Fords this year. He's in the 15th spot. 16th goes to Brad Keselowski in the 2. Right behind his teammate, Kurt Busch, in 17th behind Tony Stewart, who is a row in front of him. 18th, that's Michael Waltrip in the 55 for MWR, a Ganassi-aligned entry today. 19th, that's Casey Mears in the 28 for Yates. And behind him, his two teammates, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 20th, and Ryan Newman rounds out the field in 21st, a 21-car entry list for the 2009 Budweiser Shootout. But all that aside, we're going to take you to the racetrack for the most famous words in motorsports for the first time in 2009, the command here under the lights in Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines.
Field comes to life, a pair of Hendrick Chevrolets on the front row here in Daytona, and the 5 and the 48 are going to lead us off here tonight. And what a way to start all the storylines coming into tonight's race with the 5 of Marcos Ambrose on the pole with his new team. We've seen new teams have a lot of success in this race in the past. Of course, Matt Kenseth making the move over to Red Bull last season won this race on his debut despite the slow start to his points campaign that year. But Ambrose, new faces, new places for him and the 5 team, and he is looking to have a very promising start to this season with this new team and a lot of funding backing him.
Yeah, and for Marcos, getting into that, truly top-tier equipment was something that he placed a very big emphasis on in free agency. It was a big pitch for him coming from that 13 team, which we expect a lot of big things from this season, but they just didn't quite have the speed last year that I think that this 5 team is going to have this year. Marcos, a very capable driver and somebody that we've been waiting on to break through for their first win, and no better place to start getting that momentum rolling than right here in the very first race at Daytona. This is a good opportunity to do that.
Several new drivers in new places this year. The 5, of course, the 04 of Scott Wimmer, winner of the Daytona 500 last year. You think to Robbie Gordon in the 13, Shane Meal, new colors on the teammates as that team merges together between Innovative and Ginn, and a lot of others yet to be named, but it's the Bud Shootout to start. Some of the season's best from 2008 are going to lead us to it. Marcos Ambrose and Jimmie Johnson, the 2 Hendrick cars, are on the front row, and we're green in Daytona. Marcos Ambrose in the 5 car for Hendrick from the pole here tonight in Daytona. We've seen quite a lot of times drivers losing that top spot on the opening lap from the pole, but not this 5. And Marcos Ambrose with his new team leads the opening lap here in Daytona as it's the 2 Gibbs teammates, Kennington and Edwards, side by side behind him for second.
And that Gibbs team is heading into 2009 here with red hot momentum. They ended last season very, very well. We saw Edwards grab his first win for the team. Kennington was able to grab a couple. I'm expecting big things from that team this year.
Down the back straightaway, Kennington up to the back bumper of the 5. Jeff Gordon, the 24, one of the Hendrick cars in this race. He pulls into the 3rd position, another car with new colors, as he's got some Cola sponsorship on the hood of that 24. And behind him, another new color scheme for the 47, as Shane Meal bringing over Waffle House sponsorship this year. A lot of new colors for some existing partnerships. But Ambrose in the 5 car with that Microsoft sponsorship on his hood leads 2 laps in a row, and his teammate Jeff Gordon looking to take over 2nd position behind him.
We saw up there leading that outside lane for a little bit. Now it's falling back to 2nd in that outside lane. Another driver in a new place, Scott Wimmer, the defending winner of the Daytona 500, in that 5 car that's about to lose the lead. I would say he's probably the best that there is at this type of racing. He just has a knack for getting up there and challenging at these kinds of racetracks and driving in that 2nd car for Morgan McClure. Scott Wimmer has had a very lengthy Cup career of making do with what he has, and I think this might be the best opportunity that he's had in his career.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a team that's got the money to focus on him. They've got that Sprint sponsorship that they brought over this team previously. The 84 car coming into this year and moving over to the Morgan McClure stable as this team as a whole, Red Bull kind of separating their operation out a little bit, just kind of spread evenly, and gives an opportunity for Scott Wimmer to come over to a team that's going to have the ability to focus on him. That's something that he didn't really have a whole lot of last season. Hendrick had a lot of funding. You know, they brought their team size down just a little bit. That allowed them to focus on that 5 car a little bit more, and he made the most of it. He had what you could argue was his best season as a Cup driver, and earned this opportunity in the 04 team. This is a team that's proven they can win races with his teammate Clint Boyer running a little bit further up the field right now. And he is absolutely going to have a golden chance to run up front even more than he did last year in that 5 car. Side by side for the lead as the 47 of Shane Meal to the outside. Saw Jeff Gordon, the 24, the defending champion, didn't take long to get back up to the front of the field and lead some laps here tonight in that 24. He's got a couple under his belt now. Harvick briefly taking away the lead on the backstretch. But now another one of the bigger stories in the garage coming into this year is the big manufacturer swap for one of the heaviest hitters in this Cup Series garage, as Ganassi ends their partnership with Dodge that had lasted since Dodge had come over back into the Cup Series back in the early 2000s, and they make the switch to blue ovals as Stuart McMurray and Kurt Busch, the 40, as aforementioned, not in this race tonight, will be running Fords this year.
Yeah, and I do think, and obviously we'll have to see what it looks like later down the line this season, but I think on the surface that seems like a good move for this team. Well, we had talked about it in years prior that, you know, the Dodge engine program towards the end of the season had faltered for them on numerous occasions and had potentially cost drivers a chance at championships. So moving over to this Ford team, they should be a 1A, 1B kind of focus with Roush. I think if you're going to give your top tier drivers a chance to compete for the championship, that's the best thing that they could have done.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a team that, you know, as you mentioned, they had put so much emphasis on trying to win these championships. Of course, Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart, 2 drivers who have been contenders year in, year out for the end-of-season trophy. Tony Stewart with 2 of them in his career, both coming with Joe Gibbs, and Kurt Busch, the perennial bridesmaid in the Cup Series championship almost every year, it feels like. These are 2 drivers, you know, when things go right, they can go out there and win these titles. And as you mentioned, it had been some struggles with the Mopar engine program that had sort of brought them on the wrong side of business over the last couple of years, taking them out of Cup Series championship contention You think back to Stewart in 2007 versus DJ Kennington, Kurt Busch in 2006 versus Robbie Gordon. These guys really need to have that stability, and Ford's engine program has been that stability that we've seen over the last couple of years. You don't really think of Roush as a whole having a lot of engine troubles in the Cup Series over their last handful of seasons, and these guys that have been up front consistently. Roush has had such a tenured sort of time with Ford as a whole, and these guys are going to bring them that stability they need. It might be a rocky start. That's one of the big things, is when you're switching OEMs, it can be such a struggle to get adjusted in the early part of the season. So I think that transitional period is really going to play a big factor into how successful this move is going to be for Ganassi as a whole. But they've got the drivers to do it, and as long as they nail this swap over, it'll go great for them, if you ask me.
And a bit of a fun fact here, or not so fun for some of the field. Everybody's going to have to beat those bow ties, because it has been since the year 2000, I believe, since Chevrolet has been beaten for the championship. So at the end of the day, you're still fighting those bow ties at the top of the table, and the trend has certainly been in the way of those Chevrolets. There's certainly a very good chance of that being topped this year with some of the shakeups that we've seen. But you got to beat those Chevrolets first.
Yeah, without a question, that has been the big thing. And as you mentioned, the last time that a Chevrolet did not win the Cup Series championship, both times, 2000 and 2002, were both by Gibbs. And you know what manufacturer they were driving at the time? Pontiacs. You have to go back even further to 1999 was the last time that the Cup Series championship was not won by a GM banner. And that was a Ford in the hands of Dale Jarrett. So it's been a real long time since a Chevrolet did not win the Cup Series championship, as you mentioned, and longer still since it wasn't GM. So those guys are going to have a big order on their hands, and there's a lot of teams that are members of the GM pipeline that are new contenders that might be able to win a championship. You think to Ginn, who were so fast at the end of last season, or maybe Red Bull in the Pontiac stable, even Penske, that are these upcoming teams that have a shot at winning these championships with some of these better drivers. Red Bull especially, with their program coming into this year. Matt Kenseth, that veteran stability, was so good at the end of last year. And two young rookies on that team. AJ Allmendinger and Justin Allgaier, both, of course, not in this race as rookies going into next year. But a lot of fun at the top of this table. But GM is going to be so hard to beat because they have so many good entries. But right now, leading this race, would like to bring some attention to the third Ganassi-affiliated car that is in the lead of this race right now. That is Michael Waltrip in the 55 for his own team. This is, of course, a Ganassi-affiliated team, as he has an ownership stake in their Grand National Series operation, but retired from full-time competition in the Grand National Series at the end of last year, moving to make part-time starts almost exclusively on the plate tracks this season. And with one of the lower down the list clauses to make this race, finds his way into the race lead here tonight.
Yeah, and he's looked really stout as well. You've seen him, he pulled a gap for a little bit there, and he's been keeping everybody behind him. That 55 car looking pretty good out here.
He's got a new face in a new place behind him. That's Robbie Gordon in the 13 for Ginn, as we mentioned, that team prior. Sitting behind him in second place, Kennington finds his way back to third. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with some new colors, though same sponsorship, on the Yates 88 this year behind that. Ooh, a little bit of trouble there. Almost 4 wide, as that was Casey Mears in the 28, getting forced up the racetrack by Boyer in the 4. Everybody sorts it out at the back of the field. We stay going, but down the back straightaway here, looking like Waltrip, after leading a couple laps in a row, mighty impressive run, but Robbie Gordon in the 13 is going to take it to the bottom, and he is going to take his new ride to the race lead.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with how much is changing at the top of the table, and especially through the midfield as well, it's easy to forget how big of a move that this is for Robbie Gordon. You know, winning a championship for Richard Childress and being the anchor of that race team, moving over to an unproven team like Ginn. This is a big gamble for him, and I think it has the makings of potentially paying off. But we know Robbie Gordon is a betting man, and a man who's not afraid to get aggressive. This is a really big commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Gordon, if you ever talk to him when it comes to the move to the 13 team, it was, I want some control. The big thing for him was the fact that Childress had been infringing on him just a little bit, and things had gotten a little sour in that relationship towards the end. And we knew Robbie Gordon was leaving Richard Childress earlier than almost any free agent we've ever seen. So we knew he was going to be headed to the free agent market. We weren't sure if a team was going to pick him up, if he was going to go his completely own way. Of course, we know that he runs his own Grand National operation and is continuing to do so this year. So it's a big move for him to go over here to Ginn. You might have thought that he would make his own team, try to forge his own path, but Ginn gave him an offer that he couldn't refuse in this 13 car that had been pretty quick last year. And for Robbie Gordon, who very nearly won that 2008 Cup Series championship, made it 2 titles in 3 years. It's a big move, as you mentioned, and a big commitment for a team that is overall pretty unproven. But you saw with the wheels, or with the man behind the wheel last year in this 13 car, who is now back into the 3rd position, Marcos Ambrose, his team has got a lot of speed. And if there's anybody in this garage that can outdrive a race car, it's the 13, or the man in the 13, Robbie Gordon.
Don't look now, but you got that 04 Wimmer right back up here. And a very good 04 entry, and a man who knows what he wants out of it. And pushed by his former ride in the 5 car, who's going to jump out of line and try to pass him for that 2nd spot.
Harvick breaks the Hendrick teammates up as we come to halfway in the race this time by. And the biggest thing for Scott Wimmer as a whole, and coming over into this entry, of course, as we mentioned, the focus. You don't really think about it, but now that we're entering the 2009 campaign, Scott Wimmer has been around in the Cup Series for such a long time. He made his Cup Series debut all the way back in 2002 as a part-timer for then Bill Davis Racing, that long partnership between them that lasted until the end of the 2007 season. It had been such a long partnership for them, and Wimmer has now been full-time in the series since 2003. So it has been such a long Cup career for Scott Wimmer, and as you mentioned, a long Cup career, making do with what you got. And this is the first time, really, ever in his Cup career that Scott Wimmer hasn't had to just make do. He's got such a great race car underneath him. We talk the praises of Morgan McClure so much since they joined that Red Bull stable. Clint Boyer, of course, winning 2 races last year, contending for a top 5 in points all season long. This is one of the most exciting up-and-coming teams, if you ask me, and there are a lot of good things, both in that garage and the 2 drivers that they have picked up for this year. Five-car Marcos Ambrose, the pole sitter, back out to the race lead past the halfway mark here tonight. Brad Keselowski, 3rd-year driver for Penske, right behind him in the 2. Behind that, Casey Mears in the 28 had such an impressive campaign in the 99 in the 2008 season, garnering his first career win back at Chicagoland in the fall of last year. Behind that, Montoya, and then you have Clint Boyer in the 4, making it 5 cars on that bottom lane, your top 5. Couple of younger drivers, of course, right behind that 5 of Ambrose, the 2 of Keselowski in his 3rd full campaign. Mears, rookie season back in 2007. This is his 3rd campaign as well. Led by a lot of guys who haven't been in the Cup Series too terribly long, although hard to call Marcos Ambrose a young gun given his championship winning experience in the V8 Supercar Series. Same for Montoya and his success back in Formula One that we have harped on so much since he joined the Cup Series garage, but he gets filtered to the outside with Keselowski. Casey Mears now into the 2nd position in the 28. He's got his teammate, it's Ryan Newman in the 38, a couple of spots behind him is Boyer in the 3rd position now on the bottom. But the Bud Shootout always a quick one, and we're starting to get down to crunch time here tonight. It'll be 10 to go just a couple of times through, 12 laps remaining at the line this time for this 21-car field that has all of its pack members still in a group at the front.
And I think that this 5 car of Ambrose probably is the best car in the field. We've seen him go from the back to the front a couple times at this point, and really when he has been in the lead, he has looked in control more so than anybody else, and I think that is what you harp on most at these kind of plate tracks, to look for a good race car, you got to see the guys who can control the lines and not just get up front and lose the lead instantly. Guys that are able to set the pace and to bring those guys exactly where he wants to bring them. I think he's done the best job of that of anybody in this field tonight.
Couple of cars that I think are also worth pointing out that have been pretty quick today. Shane Meals found his way up through the field quite a considerable amount of times. I think he's dropped back and then came back forwards more than anybody, and he's going to find his way back to the lead. The two Ganassi cars have been bumper to bumper pretty much all night, Stewart and Kurt Busch, and this is the second time that they've worked together through the field once again. They pull up to the back bumper of Shane Meal, who's going to take away the lead from the 5 of Ambrose. With just 11 laps to go now here in Daytona. All the bragging rights and all the cash prize on the line for these guys as we get down to crunch time. Stewart up to the back bumper of the 47. Kurt Busch having to think about, does he want to go on his own down on the bottom or continue behind his teammates? Stewart's going to stay in front of him. Carl Edwards in the 19, fourth in line now on the bottom. Behind that is Matt Kenseth in the 17, winner of this race, as we keep mentioning, last year. And then Michael Waltrip with a couple impressive laps led in a row, sixth in line on the inside.
Yeah, inside lane just has more cars and more momentum at the moment. Definitely, we have seen over the years that inside line is pretty unbeatable at this racetrack. But definitely seeing more cars down there at the moment, which is letting them surge ahead a little bit.
Yeah, more importantly, it's letting them single file out at the front, which is something that you don't see too terribly often here every once in a while. But Kurt Busch in the 01 car is going to leave his teammate out to dry. 10 laps to go, and the friendships are over as Kurt Busch is going to pull to the inside. He'll take Kenseth with him. Another teammate, 2 cars behind. That's the 55 of a Waltrip. Jeff Gordon, the 24-year 2008 champion behind that. Kennington, Kane, the 04 back to the inside lane. 9 laps to go.
Up front still Shane Meal, though. That 47 looking really, really good up front. He's led a few laps in a row now. Gonna get back to the bottom and shuffle that 01 out.
Kurt Busch stuck on the outside. Shane Meal led a couple laps in a row. Now it's Matt Kenseth in the 17. Right behind him is Michael Waltrip in the 55, pulling up to the back bumper down the back straightaway. But Kenseth pushing Shane Meal just a quarter of a car length in front of the 55. And headed down out of turn number 4 now. A lot of Chevrolets down there on the bottom, seeing a couple of Pontiacs as well. Now 8 laps to go as Shane Meal continues to lead this race.
Here comes Waltrip for second on Matt Kenseth. No help behind him, but he's going to get alongside. And here comes Waltrip.
Michael
Waltrip once
Waltrip
again.
with such a great car in tonight's race. I'd argue he's maybe got the second best car in this field, and he pulls back down to the bottom, took Kennington with him. He's going to cross up Shane Meal on the front stretch, and here comes Michael Waltrip to try to take away the race lead.
For Waltrip, he might be here a little early, but what a run that 55 has had today. No matter where they finish, they're going to say that they had serious speed, and they're going to be taking this car to the 500 with a lot of hope that they're going to make this race.
Yeah, this is such an important practice session, especially for some of the smaller teams. There's not really any other smaller teams, matter of fact, in this field. The 55 is really the only one, and even then, this is a Ganassi prepped entry for Michael Waltrip at the Super Speedways. It's been kind of just a show of strength here tonight. So many of the household names in this field making a show out of it, kind of a mini all-star here tonight. But Waltrip, the underdog out of all of them, finds his way to the lead twice. He's got 6 to go and holding strong at the front of this field.
Let's see if any of these guys behind him can coordinate a run to try to shuffle this 55 out, but he's been good out in the lead Ever since he's gotten there earlier in this race, Kennington is going to take it to the bottom. We're going to see if Wimmer's able to jump down in front of Robbie Gordon. He is. And all of a sudden, these lines are right back where they started.
Kennington, the 81 car, the 2007 Cup champion, to the bottom, takes Wimmer, a two-time Daytona 500 winner with him. Another champion in the 13. Robbie Gordon behind that. As it is some star power on this bottom line now. Kennington with 5 laps remaining to the race lead. Wimmer behind him. See who else finds their way through. Edwards on the bottom. You've got Ryan Newman, Jimmy Johnson, who I don't think I've said the name of him all day. He's found his way down to the inside line. Behind that, Kevin Harvick and Casey Mears.
And this is the point in the going.
Ooh.
This is the point in the going where push comes to shove. And you're going to start seeing these guys get more and more aggressive with the pushes to get themselves up into the lead. 81 and 04 side by side, coming to 4 laps to go.
Kennington got really sideways. Think it was a little bit of air coming off the spoiler from Scott Wimmer down on the inside line into turn 3. Forced to yield even though he was clear. We're pretty long on this run. This is where these tires start to disappear just a little bit. 3 wide, further back in the field. Kurt Busch filtered out by his teammate Tony Stewart. As they are a dead heat down the backstretch for the race lead. Scott Wimmer with a big push from the 13 down into turn 3.
Seeing 3 wide farther there in the back. But Wimmer gets clear for the lead. We'll see if Kennington has anything for him. They're going to go 3 wide for the lead.
Robbie Gordon forcing the issue on the bottom of 3 wide. 3 laps to go in Daytona. DJ Kennington filtered out on the top. Still 3 deep. Waltrip finds his way to the middle. Here comes Edwards pushing Robbie Gordon on the bottom.
And look out for that 38 of Newman. Won this race in 2007. Looking to be in a good position here again.
2 Chevrolets find their way to the lead of this race. Michael Waltrip almost got squeezed in the middle of 3 wide. Very nearly an accident. They're going to take just 2 laps to go, coming out of turn number 4 this time. Robbie Gordon with the lead. Edwards in second. Third is Newman. Fourth, Johnson. Kevin Harvick rounds out the top 5.
Definitely seeing the aggression pick up later in this race. Edwards took a look down there in 1 and 2, but wasn't quite able to get under Robbie Gordon, who holds steadfast on that bottom lane.
Lap and a half to go. Harvick to the inside of Ryan Newman for the 3rd position. It's going to give Edwards the chance to go with his teammate. Here comes the 19 on the bottom and Kevin Harvick behind him to follow.
Door to door through 3 and 4. Edwards out front with a push from his teammate. Don't count out the Yates cars lined up behind him.
But Harvick's going to leave his teammate out, coming to the white flag last time around, and here comes the 20. Mears looking to take it 3 wide. He's going to get there with help from Dale Jr. 3 wide for the lead off into turn number 1.
Those Yates Fords on the bottom just motor by everybody. Dale Jr. looking to try to win this race on the bottom lane.
Down into turn 3 for the final time. Dale Jr. on the bottom. Mears on the top. 2 teammates dueling for the win out of turn 4 for the final time. Jr. with the lead. Fans on their feet. Mears in the Napa Ford to the outside. Side by side between the 2 Yates teammates, and Dale Jr. wins the Bud Shootout in the self-sponsored car. Title sponsor to Victory Lane.
Dale Jr., who has had a dismal past few years. We've been talking about when he's going to go back to Victory Lane, and while this might not be a points race, you can imagine this is going to mean everything to Dale Jr. What a win in that 88 car. The Yates cars 1, 2, and an incredible finish. And a winner that has been waiting years to get back in Victory Lane. And if there was going to be a place to do it, Is it any surprise that it's Daytona?
Not at all. And it had been so long for this 88 team and for Dale Jr., who hadn't even won a points race going all the way back to 2002 at Talladega, his last trip to victory lane in NASCAR, period. And here tonight, dueling it out with his teammate as they started that final lap, 4th and 5th on the inside, and it was Mears who took it 3 wide going off into turn 1 that started that mess. And then just sneaking under his teammate there.
I mean, Mears made the right move. I think that's the best move that you could pull to win the race, but the 88, just with the momentum on the bottom lane that was so apparent all day, he led 1 lap. It's the one that counted. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Definitely was not on the bingo card for today, but not a surprise it was at a plate track for Dale Jr., and I'm sure he's going to be thrilled to know what car he has for the 500.
Just an absolute hound pack here coming out of turn number 4. Just look at that mess with Ryan Newman, Jimmy Johnson up in the middle lane there. Everybody stacking up, coming to the stripe, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the one who brings it home, and the 88 car is your winner here at Daytona, and what a finish it was. Standing ovation from the fans here tonight in Daytona. Another Bud Shootout in the books. And it's Dale Jr. who comes up victorious after a wild one under the lights. The 88 and the 28 finish 1-2 here tonight. But I've been your host, Caden Rife. It's been a pleasure to have you along as always, with Nate joining me here in the booth here tonight. We'll see you next time in Speed Weeks as we head to the duels and eventually the Daytona 500. All coming your way soon. But we'll catch you then, and have yourself a good one.